Can you talk about how surrounding yourself with extraordinary people has benefited you in your career prior to starting your own companies?
Oh my gosh, I'd be happy to speak to that. When I went into commercial construction, I inherited a staff and I inherited a tremendous amount of underachievers. I refer to them as political driftwood. Some people call them roses, retired on the job, but people that did absolutely nothing and took a salary. And I couldn't accept that. It was impossible for me to watch. So when I took my next position, I literally, during the interview, I asked the senior vice president, I said, does this position come with the irrevocable right to hire and fire? And he said, well, that's a strange question. He said, why is it important to me? And I said, I'm a full accountability guy. If you let me name the team, I will take 100% accountability and responsibility for every responsibility that's bestowed upon me. But if you're going to try to push people on me, then this interview is over. I literally looked at him and said, it's over, because I'm not going to do that again. I want to be able to name the team. And he looked at me, he goes, that's phenomenal. He goes, I want to give you the job and I'm going to let you name the team. And in that particular situation, I started with one person in finance. We had 0% of the behavioral health care in the United States in acute care hospitals. When I left, we had 72% nationally. And I had 42 people in my finance department, which I hired. And I was so proud that I had 42 superstars. Every single one was a superstar. When I was in the prior position, I used to ask my boss all the time, which chair do you want an underachiever in? You know, because you're saying he always used to say you can't put a superstar in every chair. And I said, well, why not? It doesn't make any sense to me. But where I had the 40 employees, I convinced them. I said, look, I can do this with 40 overachievers, 60 average people, or 100 below average people. What do you want to pay for? And my model was pay 20% above market for overachievers. So they never leave. You have great retention. You're paying for 48 instead of 60 or 100 people. And it worked out phenomenally well. And ever since then, I've just been acutely focused on surrounding myself with overachievers. Because I honestly believe so many people in corporate America are literally afraid to hire people more intelligent than them, because it'll make them look better, they'll be a threat. It's just not a good political play for them. I completely oppose that strategy and love to work with superstars because of the collaborative talents and the challenge factor. You get together in that room for whether it's for 15 minutes or 5 hours and you grind stuff out with a lot of talent. I used to tell them, I'll come with an idea, you come with an idea, and the blended idea we leave with will be stronger than anything we could have done on our own.
Right. Exactly. It's using the strengths of everybody on the team versus if there's only one or two all-stars and everybody else is underachievers, you end up listening to those one or two ideas and everybody else, they're just bystanders. So
and the key point, I think, that as I mentioned earlier, the other topic was the key is you got to be a good listener.
Yeah.
You got to listen to your customers. You got to listen to your employees. You got to listen to everybody around you, including your competitors, to be the most responsive and proactive in the marketplace.
Yep. So I want to dig a little bit deeper on this because you hear, or at least I've heard in different places, the difficulties of having a team full of superstars because everybody wants to be the A person. So how were you able to create a culture with the teams that you developed and make it into a really cohesive unit instead of a bunch of individual all-stars all trying to do their own thing?
Well, I would suggest it started during the interview process. I've interviewed over 1,000 accounting and financial people and hired over 200. And I would always set the tone right there of the team approach that we have. And I would always let them know right away that I treat, and I can honestly say this, I treat the maintenance person identical to the CEO. I treat everybody identical across the spectrum. I always said the only reason for an org chart is for communication. Okay, it's not for value to the organization. It's just a communication tool. That's all it is. And I would tell people during the interview process, if I ever walk by a cubicle and I hear through the wall, you're just a staff accountant, you're just a payroll clerk, you're just an admin, I said, I will walk you out. I will fire you on the spot and I will walk you out. because I only have team players. That's essential to me. And once they understand that culture on the way in the door, you've already established a precedent for it, but then you have to live it through your daily conduct. And I made sure that there was never competition at all. And there would be times where I would have 3 senior accountants, for example, and I would suggest to them, okay, there's going to be an accounting manager position opening up. And I'm going to tell you what, at some point I'll have to make the decision. And for the 2 of you that don't get it, there's a real good potential if we haven't grown enough. I always try to fix everything through growth. Okay? There's CFOs that think their job is to manage costs. I think that's absurd. You manage revenues. You strive to grow revenues and outrun your costs, dilute your costs. That's how you get your SG&A from 13% to 11, is by changing the numerator, not the denominator. A lot of the finance people sit there and grind down trying to lower the costs. So I usually try to develop an upward pathway through growth. If I didn't have it, there were times I sincerely sat down and said, well, I picked Jane for the accounting manager, and I talked to the other 2 and said, I really think you're at a point in time where I don't have enough to offer you here. I'd like you to help you find an opportunity somewhere else. My employees always had a sense that my fiduciary duties ran to them, not to the company.
That's incredible. It's so unique to hear you say that. So many people, they get caught up in what's best for them. And so they would never be willing to go out of their way to help some of their best people go find opportunities elsewhere. But I think that also leads into your culture too. When you said, hey, we're going to either help you grow in the company, or we're going to make sure that we help you grow individually outside. It allows everybody to have that unbiased buy-in to your culture at all times, because they know that you are putting them first.
I think the key is I really always try to convey a message of having a fairness doctrine. That they really felt like they were in an equitable setting.